Welcome to TheatreCast. You've reached episode number 85, being recorded June 7th, 2016. This is a show where teachers and professionals share their passions for theater trends, share practical advice and tips, and ask questions of some of theater's most innovative collaborators. I'm Niku Samano, one of the co-hosts of TheatreCast, and joining me, as always, is my co-host, Danielle Files.
Hello, greetings everybody from lovely sunny Ohio.
And joining us from Canada is Leigh Cassell, who's going to share some great information about the World Festival of Children's Theater. Just to give you a little bit of a introduction, love the power of Twitter. Lucy Gray is a good Apple Distinguished Educator, Google Certified Innovator, and so many other things. And one of her
tiger.
Yes, she is. She is all things educational technology, and always admire her. And she knows that I love theater, and she put Leigh and I together via Twitter, and we thought Leigh would be a great guest joining us, so we'll let Leigh introduce herself.
Perfect, thank you. I'm really happy to be here, and yes, I do love the power of Twitter, and Lucy Gray is fabulous. I live in Stratford, Ontario. I work for the Avon-Maitland District School Board. I'm a full-time technology coach there, and I'm also founder of the Digital Human Library.
Thank you for joining us. And all this week, and a little bit into next week, is the World's Festival of Children's Theater. Can you kind of tell us what that is and how you became involved with it?
Absolutely. So a few years ago, I have a really close relationship with the public libraries that service students in my district. Just recently, all of the CEOs and I provided a library card to every student in the Avon-Maitland District School Board. So that project was really exciting. And in getting to know the CEOs, I found out about the World Festival Children's Theater, because it is happening in Stratford, and Stratford is sort of one of the hubs in the AMDSB. I asked if I could get involved and join the education committee to start to think about how we can share some of the festival performances with as many kids in the Avon-Maitland District School Board as possible. So my work with the Digital Human Library is all about connecting teachers and students via video conference with experts in different parts of the world. So I thought this would be a great opportunity to connect the theater troupes that were coming from countries all over the world with kids in the board. There are limited opportunities for kids in my board to travel, seeing that we are very, very rural and very spread out. So most of the kids that are going to see the performances actually live in Stratford. So I wanted to be able to bring their performances to other kids while they were working through EQAO and other kinds of things going on this time of year. It's a nice break to be able to sit and watch a performance for an hour from the comfort of your own classroom. So that's kind of how I got involved, and so I've been working with the festival for just about 2 years now, volunteering and helping to plan the live streaming of the theater performances.
That's a pretty amazing thing. How I know we have a whole variety of different performances from all over the world. I think I watched yesterday was Estonia.
Yes, we had Cuba and Estonia yesterday.
So it's a week-long festival?
Yeah, it runs from June 5th to the 14th. There are, I think, 266 children, so the kids range in age from 6 to 14, and they've come from 6 continents, 22 countries, and this really is a one-of-a-kind event. It happens, this is the first time it's been in North America. The festival originated in Lingen, Germany, in about 1990, and it started with children from 20 different countries. So every 4 years, actually, the festival returns to Germany, which is nice, but in between, it's hosted in different places. So this is the first time it's come to North America, and the first time that it's been in Stratford, Stratford being sort of the mecca of theater in in Canada, and so it's really exciting to have all of these kids from all these different countries here. And what's even more exciting is that families in Stratford are hosting all of these theater troupes and all of these kids. So it's been really fun for the schools in Stratford, because the kids in the morning actually spend their mornings in workshops at some of the schools in Avon-Maitland, getting to know some of the kids in the schools in my board, and also, like I said, they have a chance to experience school here in Ontario and take part in some programs that have been created for them, and then they perform all afternoon for a very excited audience. So it's been a great experience.
What are the who comes to see it? This very excited audience. Is it I'm thinking of our thespian conferences here. It's all sort of in and of itself. Groups of kids watching each other do their shows. Is that your audience? Do you have a lot of locals coming? Do people see it as a destination?
Absolutely. I think that for the most part, the audience is made up of kids from all over Ontario. Stratford draws people from all over the world for their theater. So we do have families and parents, adults, theater folks coming from really all over the place to watch it. But I think primarily the audience is made up of kids and celebrating work being done by kids, which is really exciting.
What a fantastic experience for the students and the children who are there to, we talk about global awareness and that sort of thing, but to see people their own age up there doing their thing, and I'm sure there are all kinds of similarities that they recognize in each other, and I bet the support and the energy in the crowd is palpable.
Oh, it is. And if you saw any of the broadcasts yesterday, some of these performances are very elaborate.
Yes.
A lot of countries have spent a lot of money to make these performances, world class, and they are. It's very exciting, and for kids to be able to see what's possible, and also to be able to experience different language, storytelling in a different language, and experience culture. For me, my favorite part is that the kids are spending time in our schools and getting to know the other kids, and they have a chance to hopefully, do some work together and play together and have a chance to learn together and share some of those stories.
Yeah, I know watching yesterday, one part, one of the performers climbed up into I think it was the fly system. It was like, wow. That was pretty cool that they were able to get, and then the lighting part of that too was kind of pretty cool with how they were able to do that. And I think what's really kind of shows the power of theater is, these performances are in all different languages, but because we are theater artists, we can tell the story visually and through the tone of their voice, and by the staging and all those things that the power of theater, those children are able to share those stories with a whole variety of ways. And I love the international power of theater and storytelling, that it's not just the words, but it's all those things together and how those stories are told.
I would agree, and I think from the perspective of the kids who are watching, it really emphasizes, because they don't speak the language, it really emphasizes all those other elements that come together to tell a story. Music and movement, lighting, like you said, right? When you start to look at all these pieces and you've removed the language because you can't understand the words, you're forced to focus on all those other elements. And I think it's really very beautiful to see how all of those pieces play together to tell a story.
And you have a whole, I'm on the webpage now, you have students from all over the world: the Czech Republic, Australia, Canada, Russia, Indonesia, Zimbabwe, Paraguay, Russia, United States,
Slovakia, Slovenia,
Uganda. It's like it is truly the World Festival of Children's Theater, and I think that's That's pretty amazing how that came together. So, can you tell us about the process? How were they students or the group selected? Uh, how were they chosen to come?
Yeah, so I believe it's about a year and a half before the actual festival is scheduled. Troops from around the world apply, so they send in applications. The committee, all of the folks that work with the World Festival Children's Theatre are volunteers. So that is very important to note, because the amount of work it's taken to coordinate all of this has been hugely immense. So yeah, I can't, I can't thank them enough for all the time that they've put into that. So all of these theater troops work through an application process. They submit videos, and as well as, I believe, a written application, and then there's a 12-person jury that assessed. I think there were 45 applications in total. And they make their final selections based on the applications that came in, and then they more or less work from there, and the planning begins, coordinating when they're going to come and who they're going to stay with and what they're going to do during the day. They have, of course, there's the huge show on before and at the very end, the opening ceremony and the closing ceremony. So there are a lot of pieces that need to be coordinated with these troops. And of course, there is that language barrier that we need to work through as well, because not all of the troops speak English. So we've had to also work with different interpreters in order to be able to work through some of the logistics of having the troops come and make sure they have everything they need and that they're well cared for while they're here. So it was a very intense, I know, application process, and of course the decisions are always difficult. You don't ever want to say to anyone, "I'm sorry, we can't have you join us this year," but yeah, with the 45 there were those that were selected because they really were, I think, the most outstanding and unique in a variety of ways.
Is there? It looks like there is a theme that you ask people to adhere to. Can you talk a little bit about this year's theme and how that works in the different productions?
Sure. So the theme this year is My World, Our Planet. The underlying theme is that the theater is for children by children. And that piece I absolutely love. That really speaks to me. And I love the idea that the theme this year was My World, Our Planet. I think the big idea around that is to showcase the fact that even though we live in different parts of the world and we have different ways of living and doing things and different ways of being, that we have such beautiful culture. We all have a unique culture to celebrate, and when we all come together and see how different we are and how unique we are, we also have the opportunity to recognize actually how similar we are. And when we all come together like that, it really is a celebration of my world, the place that I live, and my culture and my community, but looking at us as a collective group, that this is an us. It's all about us and our planet and how we live together and how we work together and get to know each other and celebrate our differences, and also what makes us unique and how we are similar in so many ways.
So can you tell us about the opening and closing ceremonies? Does that all kind of have to have, it sounds like it's a collaboration of all the troops together. What can you tell us about the process?
Yeah, it's a celebration of all the different countries that have come together. And that's really, I think, the bottom line, is that they want to celebrate and showcase the uniqueness of all of these different theater troops from around the world, and celebrate, where they're from, and really just enjoy being together. That whole idea of coming together is very powerful. And I mean, some of these troops, as you mentioned, have traveled from, we have a troop here from Australia, Oceania. They've traveled around the world literally to come here to perform, for children, which I think is so powerful. So really, it's the opening and closing ceremonies is in thanks for spending the time to come here and share your culture and your story, and also to, again, that whole idea of bringing everyone together in celebration of what makes us unique and what, looking at all those things that we have in common, recreating that idea of what it means to be come together. Mm-hmm.
Do you know how many troops applied for the 45 spots?
No, there were 45 spots that were applied for, yeah, and then
and how many applied in all?
So there were 45 troops that applied in all, and then I think there are 2, 4, 6, 8, I think there are 12. No, 15. Sorry, 15 that are performing. So it was a very difficult decision to narrow it down when you have that many troops that applied. So yeah, I know it was a difficult process for the jury, and yeah, we'll have to see who comes together next year and which countries. And I think that's part of the decision too. Countries that have come again and again, and trying to, you know, encourage other countries that maybe may not have had a chance to perform in the World Festival of Children's Theatre. So it's nice to have some new troops coming in and give some other countries a chance to shine and share their talent and their story.
Are there any shows that are still on the docket that you're looking forward to on this festival? Because I'm sure you have a little inside knowledge.
You know what? I actually don't. They wouldn't know. The only people that got to see the applications were the 12 members on the jury. So I haven't seen any of these shows. I'm very excited to see Zimbabwe. And I have a soft spot for Russian literature, so I'm very excited to see what the stories that Russia is going to tell. So.
And that's coming up today, right?
It is, yeah. They're all. I mean, I love part of what I do is a huge part of what I do is facilitating connections-based learning, and every year that I've worked with my kids, we connect with kids in countries around the world. So this really speaks to me, to be able to see. You know, to see kids from different countries, to hear the language and experience their storytelling. I just find that very exciting. So I'm looking forward to all the performances. They're all going to be very unique and special in their own way.
I'm looking on the schedule of events. What time zone are the times listed in case people are interested in?
Mm-hmm. So that's Eastern Standard Time. All the performances, so they all begin at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. In the morning, again, the troops are in school, so all the performances start at 1. And then on Monday, so yesterday there was a second performance at 3 o'clock, and then on the last day, on the 14th, there's also a second performance at 3 o'clock. There are 4 different venues where performances are taking place in Stratford. The only ones that I'm live streaming are ones happening at Stratford Central Secondary School. So it's any group that's performing there will have a chance to have their performance live streamed. And I should say that the live stream that's happening has actually been coordinated in part by myself, but really most of the work has been done by 2 grade 9 students, Tyler Tucker and Joshua Fong Sabath. And they
Tyler and Joshua. Way to go.
Tyler and Josh they rock. They are amazing. They created the border for the live stream. They did all the setup, the connecting of all the equipment. So Al Booker is their teacher at Stratford Central, and so Al and I have been more or less sort of overseeing, or I should say maybe watching it from the sidelines, because these 2 kids, Tyler and Josh, they just ran with it, and they have really put the whole thing together. They've been the ones filming. They've been the ones doing really all the legwork to make it happen. So Tyler and Josh, if you were watching, you guys are amazing.
Hats off, young men. I am sure make sure you put that on your resume, guys.
That's right. Well, the theater is by kids for kids, so you know, it makes sense that we have these two bright young men coordinating the live streaming, and they love using technology. They love video. Al Booker teaches media class at Stratford Central, and he is an outstanding educator. I said to him this year, I said, so next year in September, I'm going to come and take your class and learn how to create stop motion video and do all these cool things. And he's brilliant. And
maybe we can get Mr. Booker, Tyler, and Joshua on for a special TheatreCast about how to stream your events. That would be really cool,
because I said to Josh, I said, I would love for you to put this, like, if you can write out the step-by-step, because I'll share that with teachers throughout Avon Maitland who want to start doing some live streaming in their classrooms. and Josh was like, oh yeah, I would love to do that. So Josh is going to put that piece together, but I'm sure they'd love to talk to you.
That'd be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
That would be great. Speaking just before we discussed about the two gentlemen is digital human library, which I know is a project of yours. Can you kind of share about what that is and how it came into being and what it does?
Sure. So as I mentioned earlier, I had identified a need in my board for kids to connect. And I think when you look at how many rural school boards there are and you start to think about the kinds of opportunities that kids in the country have within their education system compared to the kinds of opportunities that kids get who attend school in a city, there's a huge inequity really in the kinds of experiences that we're offering kids. And I know just from the experiences that my daughter's having this year, we're in a fairly small town, but I mean, she's been on 5 field trips this year, right? Whereas at my school, we probably wouldn't even go on one. And it's simply because we can't afford it. The bus to the nearest conservation area 15 minutes away is $300. And that's not paying to actually do anything. So it's a huge expense, and when you're not, you don't have access, kids are missing out on a lot of opportunities to experience the world, really. So I started I was taking a lot, actually, as I was mentioning to you earlier, I was taking a lot of courses with Smart Technologies, doing a lot of this, right, the online piece, and I thought, I could be doing this in my classroom and connecting my kids with real people. And having taught grade 2 for a number of years, one of our units is communities around the world. And of course, I was teaching them about a hot place and a cold place, not ever having been there myself. So I decided to spend my time outsourcing kids who lived in hot places and cold places, and thought, let's have conversations with people who actually live there. So that's what we did. And after the first series of video conferences, I was hooked. My kids were hooked, and we spent the next few months traveling around the world. We worked with kids in over 12 different countries. I mean, my kids learned about communities around the world for the first time in the few years that I taught grade 2. They really learned about communities around the world and had a chance to get to know kids and hear their stories. And it was so did I. I learned about communities around the world for the first time. So it was such an exciting experience. I started to think, okay, well, if we can do this, I know there are teachers that want to do this, but can I find people that work in the community that, let's say a farmer to talk to my kids about soil and plants, or, a zoologist to talk to my kids about animals. And so I started to look for experts in organizations and to say, is this something you're interested in doing, and how can we make this happen? Do you have programs that you already offer, or are you available just to talk about what you do and answer questions should they come up? So that was in 2011, and in 2012 I had put together more or less curated a small library of experts that today has grown to include hundreds, potentially thousands of experts that are available to offer a career talk, an educational program. They're available to answer questions. They're more or less saying, yes, we want to work with kids. We just needed an invitation, right? We want to do outreach. So, anytime, I spent some of my time yesterday actually on the phone with some different apiaries, because I've had some requests from teachers to talk to beekeepers because they're learning about pollinators this time of year. And 2 of the companies I called said, oh yeah, absolutely, sure. So it's just a matter of putting that time in to continue to grow that library. And I have teachers across Canada using my resource. It's become hugely popular in Ontario. It's because of where I live. But I'm really trying to promote and to share the library. It's absolutely free. There is no cost to anybody to use it. My thinking is, as a teacher, and I'm sure as you've experienced, we spend a lot of money, a lot of our own money, trying to provide kids with opportunities we feel they should have. And this, to me, this should be a part of every classroom program. If we can connect kids with experts, even just a few experts a year, think about how many jobs they will have been exposed to by the time they leave elementary and then potentially high school. We have so many kids that leave our system that have no idea what they want to do, and a huge reason is because they've never had any exposure, and in a very purposeful way, right? Sure, we go out all the time and kids see people out in the world, but they're not they're not thinking concretely that, oh, this is a job that someone does that I could do. But in an educational setting, the context is different. So we're actually introducing them to all of these jobs and potential career opportunities, and plus they're engaging with the curriculum in a really exciting way, and in a way too that I think makes them feel more empowered, especially if we're designing tasks for kids that encourage them to make a difference in the world, right? Let's work with this community agency, and let's work on a project that's going to benefit the people that's going to benefit me and my family and the people that live in my community.
It's true. The more you know, the more you want to know.
Yeah.
And to give students that window and bridge into people's lives, and as you said, to think, well, you start to look around and think, well, somebody had to make that.
Yeah.
Somebody had to do that. I remember I had a student say, somebody had to make that commercial to me one day. Somebody had to, it was writing, wasn't it? And I said, yeah, it was writing and design and the little paper wrap around your straw. Somebody had to think of that and make that. So yes, everywhere you look, there are little artistic decisions being made in the world. And,
well said.
And to see that happen and be able to connect students who might geographically or economically or both be in a spot where that might have been impossible 15 years ago.
Yep.
To connect. It's exciting that you're doing it.
Yeah, well, it's with all the free technology. I mean, we're using the free technology right now, right? There's so many, and I mean, when I started in 2011, it was not like this. There was no Google Hangouts. Skype was kind of the main space on the scene. But if you really wanted to do this, we're talking about, like, you had to have equipment, external equipment. You had to have a Polycom or a Tandberg, or, you know, and there may be some people watching, they're like, what's that? I just use FaceTime. I just know FaceTime. So even just in the last 5 years, the rate at which technology has evolved and the simplicity now and ease of connecting.
You can do it on your phone.
Absolutely. Anywhere, anytime, right? So it's so easy now. It seems to me like it just makes sense. Why wouldn't you? I mean, our role as educators is shifting dramatically now that kids have this ubiquitous access to all this information once we provide them with technology. So we're not delivering content anymore, right? So what are we doing? What is our role in the classroom? And for me, I think a large part of that role is facilitating and modeling this networked kind of learning, right? This is what we do. This is how we found each other on Twitter, right? Through that networking. And we need to model that for our kids, and we need to show them how powerful it can be to learn this way. You know, nobody wants to sit alone at a computer necessarily and spend 6 hours searching Google for an answer that within 30 seconds they could get from through a conversation with somebody else. So it's all about teaching kids too how to be efficient in the ways that they find information and making choices about how they're going to find information depending on what it is they want to know. So this to me is always my preference. I would rather have a conversation with somebody and learn from an expert. You know, if I want to learn about theater, I'd rather have a conversation with you than sit and read about it myself. Collaborative learning is so powerful.
Now, in your adventure with the digital human library, what tools are in your regular working world? What tech tools do you use or rely upon or think might benefit other educators?
Well, I work in a school board that really supports the use of iPads, specifically technology. We've provided iPads at a one-to-one take-home devices actually for all our grade 7 and 8 students. All our grade 6 kids have iPads as well, and we're starting to think about what that might look like now. You know, in grades K to 5, and what kind of devices we'd like to provide for kids. And this program has been ongoing now for a few years, so a number of kids in high school also have devices as they've continued to move along with them. So I do a lot of work with iPads specifically, and I love being able to use Google Hangouts. So I guess for my my tech tips, or the tech that I really enjoy, I do love the iPad as a tool for learning. I think it's hugely powerful, and I do strongly believe that kids kids need a choice in terms of the kinds of devices that they're using in their spaces, because certain devices, I think, appeal to kids for different reasons, just like they do to us. I wouldn't sit here and do this Google Hangout on my phone. I want to sit on my computer where I have access to, I can have web pages open and the Google Hangout window open. So we choose specific tools depending on the task. And I think providing kids with iPads gives them the opportunity to create really unique products that they couldn't otherwise create using any other kind of device. And that's really what speaks to me about the iPad, is it's such a unique tool. So I do really enjoy that. And for me, video conferencing it's one of my favorite tech tools, and it's one of my favorite ways to learn. I probably spend time every single day having conversations via Google Hangouts or on Skype, or I use the Zoom platform too. So this is how I learn, and the fact that I can learn and meet new people at the same time is so exciting for me. So I really love the way that technology has evolved and the way that it's allowed us to connect. So for me, technology has a very personal and very human feel, I guess, because of the way that I use it, right? And this is how I choose to use technology, to have face-to-face conversations with people. So for me, it doesn't create a distance between me and those that I'm, working with online. I think if anything else, it brings us together.
Do you find that you have to, or are at all called upon to defend or sort of push back against folks who don't see technology that way?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's the teachers that I'm working with. Sometimes it's parents. Sometimes it's kids too. There are kids that that aren't interested, right? And that for some people, like, there's no way all kids want to use technology, and there are a lot of kids that would prefer to sit and play with Lego and run around, and dig in the dirt, right? My son is one of them. So I think it depends on the individual, and we have a lot of conversations about I think how powerful technology can be as a tool for learning. And I think, in my experience, those people who are very standoffish about using technology, whether it's a teacher or a parent, really stems from just a lack of understanding and really what you can do with it. I think there are a lot of misconceptions about the internet, and unfortunately the way that it's often portrayed in the media is usually accompanied by a bad story of something happening to a child, right? And that's where those fears come from. And when we start to look at how some of those negative situations ended up happening, we start to recognize that there are certain things we can do, certain skills we can teach kids in order to avoid those kinds of situations. And for me, it always comes down to education, right? If we teach kids about digital citizenship and how to use these tools responsibly, then they're going to be more informed, so they make better choices. And I think that holds true for anything that we've ever done in the world, right? It all comes down to how much education do you have? Do you understand the tool that you're using? And from there, you need to be educated yourself in order to make informed choices about how you use technology or why you're using technology. We need to understand the why first before we dive into the how.
Ooh, that's good. Hashtag that. Why before how?
Yeah, we're just gonna save that snippet and share it with all the education boards out there.
Yeah, anytime I get the pushback, I'm just gonna go. Just watch this for a minute. And have my coffee.
I may have said that a few times. I'm sure you've probably heard that a few times. Yeah, the why before the how. Yeah, I know.
Well, Leigh, we want to thank you so much for joining us today. And if people want to find you on Twitter or the internet, how would they do that?
You can, yes, the scary internet. You can find me. You can find me at Leigh Cassell on Twitter. You can also reach me on my website, digitalhumanlibrary.com. And I would love to encourage anyone out there, including the two of you, to register with the Digital Human Library because you have expertise to share. Every single person in this world has an area of expertise that would benefit learning happening in our classrooms. So starting to think about, how could I contribute or share or engage with kids in the classroom? And it doesn't have to be anything elaborate or extensive. It can be something as simple as, I'm available to answer questions if your kids want to learn more about. So something to think about as
eating chocolate.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I make jewelry, right? I make jewelry. That's one of the things that I do that's separate from my ed tech persona, or the work I do in the world of education. So that's something I could teach kids how to make jewelry. And we think about all those extra clubs that we run at school, right? And a lot of it, gardening clubs. You could be a master gardener, and there are so many things that you could share with other kids and with teachers as well, to really just to enrich our classroom programs and provide more unique opportunities for learning for our kids.
Terrific. Thank you, Leigh.
Thank you.
And Danielle, how can people find you on the interwebs?
Twitter and Instagrams. You can find me at Ms. Filas, MSFILAS. And you can also go to my blog at edunerdhq.org. What about you, Big Nick? How do we find you?
You can find me on the internet at edtech4theater and edtech the number 4theater.com, and encourage you all to check out the festival of World Festival of Children's Theater. And we'll have all the links on our show page, and also that you will get the opportunity to see Danielle and I in the same place at the same time. We'll be
physical place.
Physical place. So we'll be on the one camera, the two of us together.
What?
It only happens like once a year. At the EdTech Teams Illinois Google Summit in just about 2 weeks. Or actually less than a week.
Yeah, I was going to say, wait.
Or about a week. I don't.
We don't time. Too close to now.
So we hope to see you there, and we'll talk to you all soon. Thanks again for joining us.